This is Andrea Perrin. You're listening to Glenda's Dragon's Den, where everything is wild and untamed. Hi, this is Andrea Perrin. You're listening to Glenda's Dragon.
Hi everyone, this is Glenda Dawson from Glenda's Dragon's Den. Hopefully everybody had a great week. I may sound a little congested today. Extra pollen in the air just took it all out of me today. So it's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania, and east coast of Pennsylvania anyway, east border of Pennsylvania. And
We have borders.
yeah, and it's
I hope
nice
they pay rent.
and sunny and very little clouds. So I'm hoping you're enjoying it. And if you're by the poolside, all you have to do is put the phone on and walk away, enjoy your splashing and all that, and you can still hear us. You don't have to watch us. So
Ain't nobody got time for that.
today I have Ashley, of course, my co-host.
Hello.
Hello. LD, my dragon wrangler.
Hello.
And we do have April, who was gracious enough to come back and do part 2. Because, there isn't enough time to speak about all this stuff that's happening all the time. So I do want to warn people that, it is very sensitive subject matter. But it is stuff that needs to be out there and people made aware. A lot of people think that this does not happen, but it happens in every neighborhood. Everywhere you live, doesn't make any difference if you're rich or poor or in between, if you're born here or born in other places. This could happen anywhere, at any time, at any place. So please be aware of that. So, Ashley, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. I just got back from rehearsal for my play from across the street. I get to be a dragon mom, so I got wings, horns, the whole bit, and a gown.
I saw that picture. That was cool. I love the horns. I think I'm going to borrow them.
You're going to have to steal them one night? I'll bring them over.
You're horny enough, honey. You're horny enough.
God.
And, great costume, guys. Great costume. How about you, LD?
Me?
Yes.
You talking to me?
Nope.
Are you talking to me?
No, I don't talk to you.
Yeah, you just use sign language.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been one of those weeks.
So, well, without ado, how about if we bring April in? April, are you there?
I'm here.
Good. Good.
I would say if I get a little raspy, and God forbid I'll cough, but I have the same issue you do with allergies. So.
That's okay. Today
April,
it was bad.
April, if you get a little raspy, maybe we'll have 600 views this week.
Yeah, okay.
Just saying.
Help me. Please. Send help.
Nah, she's just joking.
She's beyond help.
Oh,
You're right.
yeah. Oh.
Just saying.
I'll be
lot
polite.
Of truth. lot of truth coming out today, folks. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
So, April, welcome back. Thank you for graciously coming back and finishing this very important subject because, like I said, a lot of people are closing their eyes to it. And it isn't something that's just been happening. It's been happening slowly, and people don't realize it. And everybody says, not me, not me. It won't happen to me. It won't happen to mine. But it could happen to anybody at any point. At any time.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? I'm going to give you the floor because
You got a lot to say.
you got a lot to say. So we'll just chime in every once in a while and
Well, what I'd like to do is just kind of start out with what I spoke about last week as far as signs of child abuse. I'm going to give you, there's actually 4 aspects to child abuse. There's neglect, emotional abuse,
Yes.
physical abuse, and sexual abuse. I did go over grooming of a child
Right.
last week. I'm going to go over that again and go slightly more into depth about that. Also, I'm going to go into more about sexual predators. You get the grooming, but there's a whole lot more to these people, for the lack of a better word.
When you get
And
to
peop-
sexual predators, I'm going to tell a little story. It's a brief one, but it's a good one.
That's fine. That's the more the merrier, so to speak. And I'm not making light of the subject matter. People, I mean, who in this world wants to think of evil in this world? And there are many different types, but child abuse and child sexual abuse is truly some of the most evil that happens in this world. And everybody, you know, you don't have to dwell upon it, but you need to know what's out there, and you need to understand. And what people really need to understand is it's real. It's real. It happens every day, all day, every night, all night, 365 days a year. It's been happening, honestly, pretty much since the dawn of time. But as societies have evolved, technology has evolved, it has, and the human condition has gotten weaker and more evil. It has really evolved.
Yes.
So I'm a firm believer that knowledge is power, whether it's this subject or any subject, spirituality, etc., that you might find interesting. You don't have to dwell upon it, but be aware of it, because it's not going to go away, ever. But if people would acknowledge it, pay attention, be willing to stand up for whether it's their child, it's the neighbor child, it's a school chum, niece, nephew, etc. The old saying, it takes a village. It does take a village, but the village don't want to cooperate most of the time.
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about child abuse first. Let's start with neglect. And when I talk about this, most people will probably go, oh, you know, yeah. If I think about it, that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, actually, a lot of it is truthfully paying attention and common sense. Although, the world seems to lack a lot of common sense these days. Some of it people just don't have, and a lot of it people don't use, honestly, which is a terrible thing to say. We were gifted as humans with common sense and intuition. Use it, you know, I mean, especially for good. I mean, hey. Okay, neglect. Neglect is when a caregiver or parent doesn't give the child basic care and protection, such as clothes, food, heat and cold weather, housing with clean living conditions, and medical care. As a guardian, I do see a lot of neglect, which, you know, you probably think, well, you know, I got to feed them and clothe them and this kind of thing. Well, yes, you do, but you'd be surprised what people get away with. And I'm not talking, now let me make this clear. I'm not talking about someone being poor, okay? You could be poor and still take care of your kids. So this is falling down on the job, for the lack of a better word. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse takes a heavy toll, just as the physical and sexual abuse does. That old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones and words will never hurt me, that's a damn lie. And especially if they hear it over and over again, they're going to start to believe it. They're going to believe they're ugly, they're fat, they're stupid. And those are, well, I don't want to say the lighter ones. It's all bad, but emotional abuse, let's start with, fails to show love and affection. A lot of parents have kids and act like they're the biggest pain in the ass. Again, I say, then why are you having children? And if you do have them, for whatever reason that is, and you can't or won't take care of all of their needs, and I said this on last week's show, the system is a failure. But there are the victories, and there are kids that are saved. So, that being said, let them go.
Yep.
Give them up for adoption, whatever it takes. If you're going to treat them like that, you really don't want them, right? So, hey, but somebody does. So.
Well, isn't some of that a power trip?
I'm sorry?
Isn't some of that abuse a power trip?
Yes, it is.
So,
You know, I'm the adult, you're the kid, you know.
so
well,
if they
yes,
let them
they
go,
are
they're going to
children,
lose that
but-
pawn.
Go ahead.
If they let them go, they're going to lose that pawn.
That's very true. And a lot of children, I hate to say, are used for benefits, whether it's government benefits, family benefits, an emotional hold on a partner. Mm-hmm. There is another form of abuse, parental alienation, which you have heard stories in the news about children who are kidnapped by one parent or another.
Yeah.
They manage to find them sometimes they don't. And it's strictly the child being used to punish the other person. But you're also punishing that child. That's their other parent.
Right.
Unless there's a damn good reason to keep them away from them, such as abuse. And if that's the case, then prove it. But you don't use them as a weapon. That's the best way to put it.
Right.
Okay, emotional abuse is, we can start with failure to show love and affection. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't have to hug up on your child, 24/7, but children thrive from being known that they're loved.
Yep.
And a hug and a kiss and time spent together. As a matter of fact, a newborn, young babies, it is called failure to thrive. If they don't get enough to eat, there is not the bonding that goes on between usually the mother, but the father as well, or the caregiver, if that's who they're with. Mm-hmm. Like there's the old saying that, you should let a baby cry it out. No, you don't do that. And I know people are rolling their eyes going, okay, what am I supposed to do? Pick them up yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, especially in the beginning. Now, it's a little different the older they get, but then they're going, once they are able to talk a little more, express themselves in different ways, it still needs to be done, but it's a little different with a newborn, a baby. They have to know that when they cry, you're going to be there. And even as adults, if we cry or upset or don't we want to know someone's going to be there, granted, we can deal with it a lot differently.
Right.
Because we're adults. Of course we do.
Of course.
And if you say you don't, I'd say you're lying. That's just me. All right. Shames, belittles, or embarrasses the child, teases, threatens, bullies, constant yelling. In some abusive families, there can be roughly, let's just say 6 kids.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 5 of those children are well taken care of. They're not abused, neglected. And then there's the one that is. And I will be very honest when I say I've done a lot of research on this and I've thought a lot about this, and I don't yet have figured it out. Maybe that child is the most difficult child out of the 6. Okay, well, none of the 6 are going to be the same in any fashion, depending on if that child perhaps has a special need. Maybe they're hyperactive, dyslexic, the nervous. I mean, there are some children that do seem to have like a nervous personality, and even well taken care of children.
Right.
It's all the aspects of the personality. And one child will be singled out, and they end up incurring all the wrath and all the abuse while the others are untouched. Sometimes it can be a stepchild, or if there are multiple partners, fathers or mothers, involved, with the children, like 2 are with one,
Right.
one's with another, then again, that child can be used as a pawn. And that child can also serve as a warning to the other children. Okay, you step out of line, well, I'll treat you like little Johnny.
Right.
And sometimes the abuse will shift to other children, but not always. Now, signs of abuse, honestly, people, use your common sense, okay? Bruises, welts, any kind of injuries that can't be explained or doesn't match what the child tells you. Oh, I fell off the swing. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And the injury doesn't match I fell off the swing, such as, well, a young child, I guess, could break their arm depending, if they were going really high and flipped out of the swing, but not usually. You're going to get bruises, scrapes,
Right.
Maybe some minor cuts if that was the case. Burns, especially from cigarettes. You would be surprised how people like to use cigarettes to burn their children. Now, and that's a fact. And there's also ways to burn children, but cigarettes are very common. Injuries that have a pattern, like a very simple one is the mark of a hand. You can see all 5 fingers in the thumb.
Right.
Perhaps it's on the face, maybe it's on the chest, the back, the legs. A belt. Most belts have buckles. Granted, maybe they don't always use the buckle, but they get fired up enough or angry enough, they're not going to pay attention to what they're using. They're just going to lash out and hit them with it. So there's going to be cuts and bruises, this kind of thing, from the belt buckle.
Yep.
Injuries, several injuries that are in different stages of healing. You have fresh bruising, old bruising, healing cuts, broken bones.
Uh-huh.
Also, another form of abuse would be medical or dental issues that go untreated. You would be surprised on how people don't, especially with teeth.
Right.
People, I know, you got to wrangle your kid, get them in there, come on, let's brush these teeth, and it could be a battle. I had a case that just closed not long ago. 3 young children, 5, 3, and 2. And yes, people, baby teeth are important. They set the stage for adult teeth.
Very true.
And all 3 of these children, their teeth were almost literally rotted out of their head. And there was a threefold reason for that. First of all, their teeth weren't taken care of. They weren't taught to brush. The parents didn't brush their teeth. They were often fed not a good diet, chips, candy, whatever they just handed to them. And they never went to a dentist. And also as babies, as the teeth were coming in, you know, they were sent to bed and the bottle was propped up. They didn't get a lot of milk, which milk formula is important for good teeth formation. They were given a lot of juice. And it set the stage. I mean, at 5 years old, your teeth should not be rotting out of your head. I mean, honestly, let's just say it.
Right.
You know? So, kids who have been physically abused will often avoid any kind of touch or physical contact. Because all they know is when they're touched, it causes pain.
Right.
I have seen children like that. It's really sad when a child anticipates any kind of touch with pain. Say you have a neighbor child that likes to come over and play. And maybe they like to stay a little longer than what you'd like them to. Did you think that maybe they're afraid to go home?
Yeah.
Or they don't want to go home, at least not yet. Or maybe they want to wait till mom and dad's passed out, then they can go home and maybe have, you know, just a few hours of peace. There are children that always seem to be on high alert. They're oversensitive to sound, sudden movement. They often wear clothing that don't match the weather, such as long sleeves, long pants.
Right.
On hot days. They're trying to cover the bruises and they're trying to hide in their own fashion. And children will often withdraw from family, well, from depending, you know, grandma might not know what's going on. So when she comes over, you know, as far as she knows, everything's great. But the child will, you know, hey, grandma, and then they withdraw.
Right.
Because they don't want grandma to know what's going on. Now, once in a great while, there might be that child that, yes, you know, tries to tell grandma what's going on. And how grandma reacts is all on her. It's either going to be, you know, let's talk about this, even if she has to get them out of the house, or it's going to be a straight denial.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of that, which just pisses me off, let's just say.
Unfortunately, yes, so have I. So have I.
You know, oh, well, my son or daughter can do this to their child. Okay, I get that. You don't want to believe that. But I've seen grandparents and, I mean, other family members, not just grandparents.
Right.
They have clear evidence, physical evidence, much less what the child tells them in behavior. And they know these children are being abused. Well, I'll just look the other way. Yeah, I might be grandma, but it's not my problem. You know, they don't live with me. I don't have to take care of them.
Well, a lot of it, too, is the circle of abuse, because they may have treated their child, the parent, that way.
Very true. Abuse runs through generations.
Right.
I mean, I don't know for sure, like my grandmother. I believe that just from things I overheard as a child, I believe my grandmother was abused. Now, did she abuse me? No, she did not. It was my father. But, and do I believe she abused my father. No, I don't think so. According to my two aunts, no. But my grandmother, it was a totally different time. I mean, my grandmother was born in 1894,
Right.
you know, to a huge family that lived on a farm in rural Kentucky. Not that that makes it right or I'm stereotyping
No, but
here. It's just,
that's what their
Very-
environment was. They didn't know
Right.
better.
it's, you know, very common. Of course, you hear the adage, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Right.
Well, that's, I don't want to stray into religion here, but that's not what it means.
Right.
It means correction. You know, that doesn't mean you beat your child senseless.
No.
You have to discipline your child. And there are many ways of disciplining without becoming physical or abusive.
Exactly.
And if you aren't sure what those are, well, why don't you just use your old friend, the internet, and hit Google? Because I'm telling you, you can find all kinds of ideas.
Very true. Very true.
Very true. Okay. Some signs that a child has been emotionally abused. They constantly worry about doing something wrong. Am I putting my clothes away correctly? Did I put the dishes in the sink? You know, I mean, which sounds very simplistic, but it's true. Now, granted, you might have a child, say I'll use the neighbor child again, that comes over, and of course, maybe they're a little nervous because, you know, they've maybe just met your child and they're becoming friends,
Right.
and they have to, you know, to learn what's acceptable in your house and this kind of thing, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's up to you to make sure they know the rules of the house. You know, for example, okay, Johnny, when we're done with our lunch dishes, you know, you can either have them put them in the sink, depending on the age, or have them rinse them off and put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Simple things like that. But if they seem overly anxious about that, that can be a red flag. I'm not going to say always, but it can be. Okay. Some children will have speech problems or delays in learning and emotional development because just as not feeding your child properly will stunt their physical growth, well, their emotional growth will be stunted as well
Right.
by emotional abuse. And then you've got the very common doing poorly in school, depression, low self-esteem, extreme behavior, which can either be they're too obedient or they're too polite. Now, that sounds perhaps kind of silly, but I have actually met children that it's one thing to be polite to your elders, not every child, especially these days, is going to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir.
Correct.
But if you get a child that does a lot of that, either their parents are really enforcing that, you know, by God, you know, I want you to, you know, say this to, you know, the adults, or it's overcompensation. And then you have it swing the other way to where they're too demanding.
Right.
Nothing, you know, nothing is right. You know, this is too hot, this is too spicy, this is too loud, you know, such as that, where they essentially kind of become a pain in the butt. Well, there are children that are kind of naturally like that.
Yes.
This is true. But it can be a sign. You know, now, I mean, don't get all paranoid now when the neighborhood kids come over. But, you know, it's a way... It's one way to be observant. I guess that's a good way to put it.
Right.
A lot of that's a cry for attention, too.
That's true.
They want
And
the intervention.
I guess that was sort of my point. It is a cry for attention. It, you know, like I said, it can go either way. A lot of time, children will have a headache, a stomach ache. I will tell you, young children shouldn't get headaches unless there's something physically wrong with them.
Right.
And the same thing with a stomach ache. Of course, don't feed them too much candy and, food
Right.
and this
And
kind of thing.
under
at one
normal
time.
circumstances.
Right. Again, we're talking common sense.
Right.
The child might show little interest in trying to make friends or even doing simple activities. Go to the park, maybe play on the soccer team. It can, they just want to withdraw.
Right.
And either stay in the house or in their room if they have one to go to.
Uh-huh.
And the child might not seem very close to the parent or caregiver. Now, we all know as children get older, especially when they become teenagers, they, oh my God,
that's a
mom,
whole
dad,
other world.
yeah, which honestly, as they go into the teen years, a lot of that's normal to a degree.
Right, right.
They're growing up, they're learning to craft their own identity, this kind of thing. But if they really don't show a lot of emotion about a parent, or, it's kind of like, oh, Mrs. Jones, could I stay at your house? Okay, all right, yeah, you can, we'll have a sleepover tonight. Okay, well, the next thing you know, they really don't want to leave, and they don't really miss mom or dad or being at home.
Right.
This could be a sign.
Yep.
April?
Yes.
I want to share a quick story because I think it's important. Something that I observed, and fortunately that was what led to a course of action being taken by the parent. I had a friend, and she hadn't been feeling well, so we were going to go to a pool with my family, and I was picking her and her child up. The child was about 2. And she asked for help bathing the child before we went because she didn't feel well enough to do it by herself. Decided to do it in the sink, and so, the sink was clean. Put the child in the sink, and the child became positively rigid. And I'm looking at this short story. The father who had been bathing the child in the mother's absence would scream at her whenever she would splash. So she was absolutely petrified of getting screamed at for splashing. Now, fortunately, it hadn't taken root to the point where we were able to desensitize her from that by being playful with her and getting her to, reacclimate right then and there to a point. But the realization that that's what had happened is basically what led to the intervention.
Right.
And so, anytime you observe a child behaving in a grossly abnormal way to a relatively normal circumstance, you really have to ask yourself, what could possibly cause that? And, with some gentle persuasion, the mother said, well, yeah, he does kind of scream sometimes when she's in the tub, and that's what led to, again, the intervention. But it's amazing how this creeps in. And again, this was a 2-year-old. Can you imagine a 2-year-old being afraid to splash in a bathtub?
Excuse me. And you're absolutely right. Like I said, behavior clues are such a, and granted, we're all human. You know,
Right.
we get tired, we get cranky, we do miss things on occasion. But, you know, if you're seeing a significant pattern with behaviors, yeah, something is up. And I will say this, now this is not necessarily abusive, but it can become abusive. I see that people, you know, we all want to teach our kids, and we also need to be well aware that we can talk till we're blue in the face, but those children are watching. And one of the biggest things you can do for your child is be a good example and model that behavior that you want them to have, you know, such as, you know, keeping the home clean, you know, I mean, just simple life tasks. But I see people get really, kids are kids for just a short time. It might not seem that way at first because you're caught up in the everyday living, and, you know, especially with young kids, they demand a lot. It takes a lot of work, but that's, you know, they're children. I mean, hello.
Of course.
But I see people get, just like you speaking about the child, you know, being so anxious about taking a bath. I mean, like you said, they're 2 years old.
Yep.
They're gonna splash. You know, it's water. You can wipe it up. You know, I mean, or you know, I see a lot of parents that don't want to let their kids help in the kitchen because they're going to make a mess. Well, first of all, you should really be teaching your children how to cook because one day they're going to be adults.
Yep.
And this is a life skill. You know, they need to be able to do this. You can, you know, wipe up the flour, you know, get the egg out of the sink, kind of thing. I mean, it's not. And people also need to remember children as they grow. Think about a baby, a very young baby in the very beginning. What can they do? Nothing. You know, they can't hold up their little head, you know, much less walk, talk, anything like this. Fine motor skills, such as finger dexterity, etc., that comes with age. You can't expect a 3-year-old child to have the dexterity that, you know, say an 8-year-old would. You can't expect the 8-year-old to have the same as a teenager who is rapidly approaching, you know, young adulthood. I mean, people sort of get, I guess I could say, false expectations, or perhaps they really don't understand how a child develops. Again, talk to your doctor. Talk to the pediatrician.
Some of that presentation can also be a harbinger of some form of pathological presentation. For instance, when I was young, I had a lot of depth of field challenges. So I would constantly be knocking things over on the table, even more so than I do now.
Oh, God. I feel sorry for your mother.
But my father became extremely agitated and found reasons that would even be challenging to hold a regular child accountable, but really was an indication of my depth of field challenges. And that was really never acknowledged and apologized for, which, you know, that's water under the bridge. I'm bringing it up just to say that some of these things can also be indicative of pathological presentation.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I can relate to that to a degree. As I was, I guess, about 6 or so, I got rheumatic fever, which is treated. That, for people who maybe don't know what it is, it's mine. I know came from an untreated ear infection that lived for quite a few months, and the bacteria went to my heart. And what I can remember is all right, children get growing pains. This is a known fact. I mean, they do. But I had more than worse growing pains, especially in the joints, which my grandmother did get me to the doctor. We had rheumatic fever. My point in saying this is for 3 years, I was not allowed to exert myself. I could not run, jump, anything like that. You know, of course, I did go to school, but I missed a lot of school. I was not allowed to participate in PE. So if you looked at me, okay, I looked like a normal little girl, but my physical development was a little off because by the time I finally got over it and was allowed back in PE, I definitely lagged behind the other kids, which was a pain only because I was always the last one picked for the team. But I overcame that eventually, but that took quite a few years, probably till I hit my teenage years. So you're right. You know, it can manifest, and if you can rule out physical causes, I mean, not abusive causes, but, you know, like you said, pathological, then it's time to look in another direction, you know. Signs of neglect. Now, if you're in their home, you might see it. The home might be dirty,
Right.
infested with bugs, you know, this kind of thing. That's very obvious. But maybe you don't go to the house, or you're not allowed in the house, which that would kind of be a big red flag to me. You know, if you have to take little Johnny home, and yeah, it's one thing, you know, maybe their house isn't spotless. You got kids, your house is never spotless, okay? Not unless you're just totally fixated on cleaning, and
Yep.
that's a different subject too. But the child might always look dirty, or maybe you take little Johnny home and mom and dad's never home,
Right.
but the older siblings are. Children should not be left in the care of other children. Now, I'm not talking a 5-year-old left with, you know, the 16-year-old sister. Okay, at 16 years old, they should, you know, at least be able to reasonably take care of a child for a short period of time. Maybe when they come over to eat at your house, they just eat like there's no tomorrow, like they're never going to get enough. Or they ask you if maybe they can take some home. Or you might notice them, say, slipping some food into their pockets to save it for later. Sometimes, and this would go back to school officials, they miss a lot of school unless they can show proof of a medical condition and a doctor's care. That's a big red flag. Why are they missing all this school? Well, there could be, you know, the physical abuse, the neglect. You know, they just don't care about sending them to school. You might notice a child that seems frail for their age. Well, you know, they're not maybe perhaps gaining weight properly or growing properly. This, again, would go back to, obviously, nutrition, medical care, you know, this kind of thing.
April,
Okay.
we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
I'll be here.
All right.
All right.
If you're struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details, not available in all states.
If you or someone you love suffers from drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan to receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits so that you have low or no out-of-pocket costs. We quickly help you verify your health insurance coverage amounts for substance abuse treatment so you can prepare for immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center now. Select from locations nationwide while receiving up to $30,000 or more in coverage through your private health insurance PPO plan if eligible. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier matching service available 24/7. We help you use your PPO private health insurance with low or no out-of-pocket costs.
Call now, 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. That's 800-961-2480.
Are you an active stock market investor? Well, then you know these three key words: buy, sell, hold. Those three magic words can make or lose you money in the stock market. What if we can show you a time-tested tool that's been helping stock market investors succeed for over 30 years? It's called VectorVest, an amazing system designed to make smart investing easy. The VectorVest system analyzes, sorts, and ranks over 19,000 stocks every day and tells you when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell any stock to maximize your profits in less than 10 minutes a day. And if you call right now, you can test drive our amazing VectorVest system risk-free for 30 days for just $9.95.
800-958-0341. 800-958-0341. 800-958-0341. That's 800-958-0341.
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-847-1362. 800-847-1362. That's 800-847-1362.
Looking for high-speed internet where you live but are out of reach of cable and fiber options? Look no further. High-speed internet is now available in your area as your local authorized HughesNet retailer, Whole Home Connect, makes it easy to get the high-speed internet you need with blazing fast speeds, unlimited data with no hard data limits, with built-in Wi-Fi for as little as $2 a day. Act now and for a limited time, get free standard installation and free equipment with HughesNet from Whole Home Connect. You'll enjoy internet service that lets you do more of everything you want to do online, like shopping, surfing, and staying in touch. Call Whole Home Connect and see for yourself why HughesNet is America's #1 choice for satellite internet.
800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. That's 800-696-2871. I'm Liza Hotchkiss.
And I'm Johnny Hotchkiss, and we are Core Phenomena Research. And you're listening to Glenda's Dragon's Den on Wild FM.
Hi, this is Glenda Dawson, your host of Glenda's Dragon's Den. Welcome back, everyone. LD, you wanted to talk about a few things?
When do I not?
I know.
I just, a lot of people in the comments are moved to disclose. It might be in your best interest to contact Glenda privately, and the best way to do that would be to go to glendasdragonsden.com and toggle the button for Glenda's Magical Creations. That will put you in direct private contact with Glenda, where you can arrange to discuss and possibly work on whatever's bubbling up here. And it's really gratifying to hear people feel comfortable to do it here, but this is the internet, and that might be a better choice. Glenda's Magical Creations also lists a number of the other things that Glenda is involved in and capable of doing and insured for. So that's one option for you at glendasdragonsden.com. There's also the CTFO button for CBD oil for those people that don't want the THC but do want some of the benefits. Glenda uses it. I use it. A lot of the people that have worked with the company, which is CTFO, a leader in CBD oil, are very happy, and those products come with a 60-day empty bottle guarantee, because CBD oil doesn't always do what you think it's going to do immediately. It generally goes to where you need it the most, and you may not even be aware that you need it there. So that's why it's a 60-day empty bottle warranty. There's also the Force to be Reckoned with button, and that will take you to the non-lethal self-defense page, where if you're feeling a bit unsure of yourself out in the streets and you want to get, say, pepper spray or some other ability to better defend yourself should you need to, and be able to walk with that confidence and not walk like a victim, there's a plethora of products there at the Force to be Reckoned with page. And some of them you can even fly with. So if you're going to a city and you feel you have to leave everything behind, that's a product you can take with you to wherever you're going and even bring it on board on your person. And lastly, there's the doTERRA button for those who may feel a little anxious after today's show. That is for the aromatherapy products and the products to dispense those products. They can help with all sorts of calming and healing facilitation. So those are the 4 products. April, are you with us? Hi, April.
Hi, Larry.
Hi. I just, before we move on, I have a quick story. I was waiting to see if it was covered in neglect. My son used to spend nights at his grandmother's apartment. And the only caveat I really had was that if he was outside, she was to be outside. When I was a child, I roamed pretty free, and I was very fortunate in that aspect of my life. But I didn't want him to continue to try to beat those odds. Well, I became aware intuitively that that wasn't happening. So one day I went there unannounced, and he was out playing in the backyard with a 4-foot fence between us. I beckoned him to come over and be quiet, picked him up, put him in the car, drove him all the way home, 45 minutes away, called her up and asked to talk to him. And she wasn't even aware he was gone. So you know how fast it can happen, because just as I did it with him, he could have just been gone, and nobody would have known anything. So that, to me, is another level of neglect that people aren't aware of. Folks, you got to keep your kids not, under siege, but you got to have some form of ability to know where they are and have them always with people and always aware of what to do if somebody pulls up. And it can be just as simple as crossing the road, but not to be alone and not to be left alone and not to have grandparents leave kids alone.
Well, like I always say, no one's going to love or protect your children like you will, unless, of course, you're a bad parent. But, I was saying, no, my grandmother kept an eye on me. But that's like when my daughter was young. I had a sturdy fence. I had 2 German Shepherds. But do you think that I depended upon the fence or the German Shepherds? No. It was eyes on her. Yeah, maybe I had stuff to do. As long as she was outside, I didn't have stuff to do. She was my stuff to do.
Yep.
And my German Shepherds I trained them myself. They were well trained. I mean, kids could love all over them and, play ball and this kind of thing with them. But I had one in particular that she was a female. Mm-hmm. And I would tell her to walk the perimeter, which that was the perimeter of the yard. I would be outside. My daughter would be outside. I might, for a moment, have looked down only because, maybe I was pulling weeds or something. As long as Nala was on the perimeter, believe me, I would have known if somebody would have come into the yard. Okay, now that being said, I realize that, not everybody have a dog, much less a big dog, etc. Eyes, people, eyes. Pay attention to your children. I can't recite that till I'm blue in the face because, like I said, time is fleeting. The time will come where they don't need you, perhaps, but even as teenagers, they do need you to pay attention. Maybe not as much for their physical safety. For their physical safety to a degree. Obviously, not as much as a young child.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to start moving kind of quick because I got some things that I want to put out there, and I'm going to issue a couple of warnings. The first warning I'm going to tell you is you're not going to like what I have to say in the next hour. You might even deny that it's real. I assure you, I'm not a liar. I'm not into major conspiracy theories either. So what I tell you is the truth. I will issue a trigger warning because for some people, this could be difficult to hear.
Right.
And once I get going, you'll see why. You might think, well, I'm not too worried about this. Why do I, have to listen to it? Well, you don't have to listen, okay? But I'm telling you, you might want to because the world is dark. It always has been. It's gotten progressively darker, and it's just, I don't necessarily say I'm not an optimist, but I'm a realist, and it's going to get even darker, okay?
April, I just want to say, because you disclosed this last week's show, and people may not be aware of it, and since you did disclose it, you also have the benefit of being trained and working with the FBI
yes.
on some of this material. So you're not speaking off the top of your head. This is personal experience that you share with us.
It's personal experience. It's education. I've been educated. It's a tough subject. Granted, it's hard to swallow, hard to listen to. Like I spoke last week, just because I can talk about it doesn't mean it doesn't bother me, but I have good coping mechanisms, and it's important to me to further the welfare of children any way that I can. And I'm a firm believer in being proactive, whether it's the signs of abuse I just discussed or what I'm about to discuss. I'm just going to spit it out. I'm about to go in to sexual predators and human trafficking. The two are linked. I'll discuss sexual predators first. Sexual abuse of children is a horrendous, common human problem. It just doesn't happen to Jane down the street, or, you know, I know you get on the internet, you know, you read the stories, and you're like, oh my God, you know, this is awful, and oh, those poor kids, and, you know, but it won't happen to my kid. Really? I hope it doesn't. I really do. But you need to be aware, and you need to pay attention. You don't need to dwell here, but you need to educate yourself, and you need to realize it's a huge problem, even more probably to a degree than, I hate to say regular child abuse, but regular child abuse. It, too, has gone on since the dawn of time. And it's going to go on. Now, I will say, granted, when I was a child, oh, you didn't talk about this. You didn't hear about this. As we've progressed through the ages, so to speak, yes, it definitely is more open to a degree.
Right.
Yes, I realize, you know, that you hear it and it makes you sick. Okay, I get that. It makes me sick. It makes me angry. And it's a good thing that I'm not a vigilante type of person, because there are sometimes I really feel that way. But
could understand that.
That is not the way to be, truthfully. The best way to be is to be proactive and educated. Okay.
Well, on proactive and educated, I had said I was going to tell a brief story, and this is the story I want to tell before you get too deeply into it, because people will have to draw their own conclusions, and I want to make it clear that I am not asserting in any way that this individual was, but you can draw your own conclusions. I was a child actor. I think you know that, April. And 35 years ago, I was working at a place called the Cape Cod Melody Tent in Hyannis, Massachusetts, alone as a mid-teenager. And when I say alone, there were other people there, but there was no real parental guidance or supervision for me. So we had a show come in called Lorelei, starring a celebrity named Carol Channing. These were national tours. And in the short time that the show was there, the wardrobe director offered me a position as assistant wardrobe director, or I think it was wardrobe director, but he was in charge of the wardrobe, and he was going to make me his assistant. And all I had to do was agree to go on the road with him. And, you know, for a kid trying to make it in show business, that's a pretty big damn carrot. But
exactly.
You know, fortunately, I was never really much into costumes. I couldn't sew a button on a piece of fabric. And I explained this to him, don't worry, I'll teach you. Well, it never really dawned on me why he could possibly want me to do this. You know, he kept saying how he was overworked and he was tired and he needed the help, and could I please consider it and help him? So, like I said, I'm not accusing the man, but everyone can draw their own conclusions as to why he would take a child and make him assistant wardrobe manager on the road for a national tour company. Mm-hmm. And there you go. Your ball, April.
Yeah. Sounds like he was trying to groom you. That's what I would say. But I could be wrong. So,
and I could be wrong too, but that's how subtle and how romantic it is.
Exactly. Let's see. Let me think just for a second where I want to start. I went over some grooming tactics last time. I'm going to roll through them pretty quick. If anyone listening is interested, you can contact Glenda. If for some reason you'd like to contact me, you can do that through Facebook. Again, I will tell you that to a degree, the internet can be your friend because you can find a lot on the internet. Mm-hmm. And I have something to say about the internet too, but that's here in a minute. All right. The first thing is the best defense is a good offense. You educate yourself and you educate your children. Please always try to keep an open dialogue with your kids, not just about sexual predators, okay? I mean, it could be anything from bullying, mm-hmm. drug use. Yes, you're the parent, okay? And my experience, I will give you my experience with my daughter very quickly. I made it very clear to my daughter that she was expected to behave certain ways, of course. But if she did something wrong, whether it was by choice or depending on her age, she wasn't sure if it was wrong or not, and she did it. I stressed to her that it was very important for her to come to me and talk to me. And I told her if she couldn't look me in the face, I would turn my back. She could write me a note. Mm-hmm. One of the best ways that you can actually get all kinds of information out of your child, good and bad, is the car. They tend to like to talk in the car because they actually kind of think that you're somewhat distracted because you're driving. And you can't turn around and look at them, unless you stop the car, of course. I'll also say that when you have their friends in the car. Pay attention to conversations between them, okay? Yep. All right. There was a couple times she had to come to me, and honestly, she didn't do anything horrendous, but she was a kid. And I told her, honestly, I said, this makes me angry, and I don't want to act in the heat of anger. So let me calm down, and we'll discuss it. Mm-hmm. You need to go to your room. I didn't drag it out for hours, okay? I got a grip, tried to look at the situation, and then we discussed it. For me and my child, that worked well. I'm not saying that she never told me things, okay, but for the most part, she did, because she knew that she could come to me and we could talk about it, and I just wasn't going to flip out right away. And if you're the type where you have a quick temper, I suggest you tell them what I told her. Mom, Dad's angry. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at the situation, and I need to think about it. And then talk to your child when you've calmed down. Okay. That being said, okay, I will tell you that a good predator, there are dumb ones out there, thank God, because those are the ones that get caught. and even the best ones get caught. But then there's a whole lot that don't, because they're exceptionally good at what they do. They will groom you to a degree, just like your child. And you're thinking, what? What the hell does she mean by that? I'm going to tell you. They might befriend you first. They might seem like such a nice coach, teacher, neighbor.
Partner.
Right. And, they're friendly, but, they don't seem too weird, with your kids and this kind of thing. They're doing that to gain your trust. And believe me when I tell you, they can do this for months. If they are really that attracted to your child and they really want them, they'll do it. And after they've kind of gained your trust, maybe they come over, maybe say it's your neighbor, maybe they have kids. Okay, maybe y'all get together on Friday nights for, some tacos and game night. Oh, everybody's having a good time. All seems well. Okay. Maybe there's nothing to that. Maybe there is. All right, as far as your children, this is what they're going to do. They're going to pay special attention to your kids and make them feel special. They're going to get to know what they like and dislike. They might appear younger than what they actually are. Oh, yeah, I like that kind of music. Really? Oh, well, guess what? I got tickets to see... okay, I'm thinking of old bands. Taylor Swift. Would you like to go? Oh, sure. Of course they want to go. Okay, that's the start. They're seeing their likes, and that starts forging a bond with that child. And this kind of leads to the next point I'm going to make. All right, they've, starting to take your child to concerts occasionally. You're thinking, oh, well, great, I can get a couple hours to myself, take a nap, get stuff done around the house, whatever, Now, I'm not saying every person, neighbor, etc., that does this is a sexual predator, okay? You have to look for the accumulation of signs and pay attention to your child's behavior.
April?
Yes.
Did you ever hear of a movie called Capturing the Freedmans?
Capturing the Freedmans. I don't think so.
It detailed a teacher and his family, and it was pretty detailed, and they were all pretty entrenched. And that was in one of my schools when I was going there. So this is nothing new, folks. And they can
Not
be
hardly.
anyone.
That could lead... okay, got tongue twisted there. This could lead to, all right, the person starting to take your child on more activities. And what that means is they start being more alone with them. It's just not family game night on Friday. They also will do things like touch your child in your presence. Now, I'm not talking sexually here. It's a pat on the back, or maybe just a brief pat on the knee. Or the child might feel comfortable enough to, oh, look, it's, John from down the street. And I'm using male pronouns. This also applies to women, okay? Don't ever think that a woman can't be a predator, because, yes, they are. And unfortunately, it's becoming more common and more well-known. So those two go hand in hand. Yes, the primary predators, there are more men than women. But women do it too, and they don't just do it to boys, they do it to girls as well. Okay. They start spending more alone time with them. The touching, like I said, is very simple, and the reason why they do that is, first of all, to disarm you a little bit, and secondly, the child sees that, okay, Mom doesn't really mind if I give John a quick hug. Maybe you're the kind of touchy-feely family. You all hug each other all the time. Nothing wrong with that. I don't mean it like that. Like I said, it's accumulation of clues, but they do that to get the child more comfortable with them touching them and with them touching them in front of you, but of course not in a sexual manner.
Right.
And it's also done to desensitize the child a bit. That way, as they progress, it's already started to break down the child's inhibitions. Might seem accidental at first. And then this, as I like to say, the door's been kicked open, and they have their foot in the door holding it open until they can get it all the way open, which is, well, I don't say molestation, I say rape, because that's what it is. Then they might progress to, depending on the child's age, we all know kids love bathroom-type humor, okay? Very young children, that's a way to get in on their, oh, look, haha, they tell me these little silly, funny jokes, Mom doesn't like it when I talk about fart jokes, but, John does.
Yeah.
Yeah, haha, that's funny, okay. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. You need to teach your children that, and this is a hard line, about physical contact between them and another adult. I have, my daughter had friends that would hug me on occasion, just because, they were used to me. I would hug them back quickly. Not because I was going to do anything to them, and not because I didn't want them to feel affection. I was careful that no one could ever say, oh, well, April did this, and maybe she hugged her too long, because people will, they either don't pay attention or they immediately think the worst, and then they tend to miss all the signs altogether. Depending, again, on the child's age, they might start telling them dirty jokes.
Right.
Or starting to show pornography. Or playing sexual-type games. Yes, you show a child pornography, that's a form of sexual abuse, along with the actual act itself. Pay attention to things that your child says. If your child starts talking a lot about sex, things related to it, pay attention, especially in the age, and think about it. Do most kids talk to their parents about sex? Well, no, not usually. I get you're going to have the talk and all that, and hopefully as they mature and they become sexually active, but that's not where I'm going with this, so I don't want to stray from that. Here's a good example, physical signs. Children like to touch themselves. That's natural. Right. Masturbation, people. If, say, your toddler masturbates excessively, or a young child starts talking about sexual positions, sexual aids, things like this. Hello?
Yeah.
That's a big old red flag, and you better pay attention. Predators often use treats. It can be games, candies, those concert tickets. Older kids, teenagers, drugs and alcohol. Especially if you have a rebellious teen.
Right.
I mean, all teens rebel, okay, let's face it, in one form or fashion. Truthfully, it's just a part of the growing process. But children who are sexually abused exhibit these behaviors a lot, and they exhibit extreme behaviors, such as, a lot of drinking, drugging, promiscuity, as they get older. Let's see. Let me think for a minute. A predator also might come across as a sympathetic listener. This is another part of the grooming process, Oh, yes, yeah, Mom grounded you for, playing that inappropriate game. Oh, that was awful. John, just know you're so mad. I understand, you can talk to me. I'll listen. A lot of children are really sucked in by the fact that someone will listen to them.
Yep.
They will listen to them. They don't make fun of them. They can talk to them about anything, whether it's silly, stupid, serious. They also, as the grooming progresses, they kind of treat the child victim as like a co-conspirator. Your parents would be really angry if they found out about our relationship. You have to realize predators are the masters of manipulation. And they can just turn a child's emotions, that they will make the child think it's their fault, that they are in this relationship. The child, of course, obviously is physically hurt. They don't like the pain, but they're caught in the web, so to speak. They don't know how to get out, and they're afraid because there's a lot of intimidation that goes with this.
Right.
The child might start to pull back. Maybe mom and dad are getting a little better at educating them, etc. Then it can lead to, really? You want to tell your parents about this? Go ahead. I'll kill them. Or I'll kill you. Or I'll kill your family pet, or all the above. They're not above using threats, believe me, because they want to keep on raping that child. You need to teach your children age-appropriate grooming behavior.
Right.
Keep it simple, okay? Like I said. And it's a hard line to walk and not scare the crap out of them. But it can be done. You don't need to, sit them down and preach it to them and this kind of thing, because all they're going to do is turn it off. You get those listening moments in. Pay attention. Maybe they say something like, there's a new neighbor across the street, and I kind of feel uncomfortable about that. Really? Why? Oh, I noticed they're out there, and they just stare at me all the time. Or they tried to get me to come in the house, and you told me that I shouldn't go in anybody's house unless I know who they are. Okay, there you go. That's a prime teaching moment right there.
Right.
And praise them. When they do well, when they praise them, please, because children thrive on praise. And they want to know that mom and dad are proud of them. whether it's, being on the soccer team, it's recognizing the creepy neighbor down the street,
Right.
etc. Okay, and I will say this, pay attention to the adults. It's not the creepy guy in the park. It could be, yes. It's the ones that are closest to you kids, coaches, teachers, neighbors, family members.
Yep.
No one wants to think about incest.
A lot of grandparents.
Clergy.
Clergy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there because incest, just like child rape, is very common. And, of course, it's within the family. Nobody wants to talk about it. I get that. But, again, are you going to sacrifice your child for your discomfort? Come on. I mean, because once the damage is done, it's done. You can't go back and take it back. Okay, you can get them into therapy. This is true. But does that take them back to where they were before all this happened? No, it doesn't.
No.
It's going to try to teach them to deal with what has happened to them.
Right. Plus, you could also, by bringing the subject up in the family, you could also save or get to those that have not been affected yet, because they're not going to just do it to one child in the family.
Exactly.
They're going
like I
to.
said last week.
Yep. They're going to
Predators,
continue.
whether they're family or not.
Yep.
Kids are like, and I'm not making light of this, kids are like potato chips.
Yep.
You can't have just one.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way. Okay, now, I'll say, I'm going to move real quick now. I'm going to talk just very briefly about the Internet. Okay. We all know about the evils of the Internet. Well, most people do. A lot of people don't think about it. All right. There are 3 parts to the Internet. There's the surface Internet, which is what we all use. You get on Facebook, you Google a recipe, you send an email, okay? That's obviously very easily accessible. There's the deep web, which is the second layer. The deep web is the encrypted networks, such as medical records, credit card transactions.
Right.
You're paying your bills, all right? Then there's a third layer. This is called the dark web. The dark web truly is an evil, vile place, and it does exist. Don't ever think it doesn't. Now, I'm going to tell you in a minute how that links to predators, and there's more on there than sexual predators, okay, which I'll hit that in a minute. What I find very interesting about the dark web, aside from the fact that it's just sick,
Yes.
is it was actually started by the U.S. government in the 1990s. It was not meant as to what it is today. It was originally started so that different operatives within the government could secretly talk to each other, share information, and not have to worry about being overheard. Of course, now remember in the 90s, the internet was just, starting to bloom, so to speak. In the late 90s, for some bizarre reason, I don't know why, truthfully, they decided to make it public, and in 2004, it was outsourced, and boom, there you go, because that's when it really, truly got vile. Now,
April, let
yes.
me stop you here because we need to throw to a break.
Okay.
We have about a half hour left, a little less perhaps when we get back. The one thing I'm going to ask you to touch on is how to try to ensure that access to the dark web is not on your child's computer system.
I can do that.
Yeah, so we are going to throw it a break.
Yep. a quick break so everyone can take a deep breath, get a glass of water.
And make sure that
shake
they're
things off a little.
Yeah, that they're ready to hear this.
Yeah. Okay, so we will be right back.
Stay with us, April.
Messages.
I'll be here.
Stay with us, everyone. We'll get through this together, and we'll be right back.
If you're struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details, not available in all states.
If you or someone you love suffers from drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan to receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits so that you have low or no out-of-pocket costs. We quickly help you verify your health insurance coverage amounts for substance abuse treatment so you can prepare for immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center now. Select from locations nationwide while receiving up to $30,000 or more in coverage through your private health insurance PPO plan if eligible. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier matching service available 24/7. We help you use your PPO private health insurance with low or no out-of-pocket costs.
Call now, 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480.
Hey, this is Itzy Sweeney of New Morning Holistic Health Services, and you are tuned in to Glenda's Dragon's Den, where the wild and untamed meet on Wild FM.
Welcome back to Glenda's Dragon's Den. This is Glenda Dawson, your host, and we'll be continuing speaking with April. April, are you there?
I'm here.
All righty. So we were talking about the dark web.
Yes, and I'll say we've got such a limited time. Sorry, people, but I'm giving you this information. I got information. I'm trying to get it out there. So
we'll just have to have you back on.
I'm going to fly pretty much through the next half an hour. So here we go. All right, we're in the dark web. All right. You can't access the dark web from Google, okay? It takes a special browser.
Yep.
It's called Tor, T-O-R, which stands for the Onion Router, which is what it was originally called.
Right.
And the reason why it was the onion, what does the onion have?
Layers.
Layers. Onions have layers.
Exactly. And there are many layers. The dark web only actually makes up a small part of the three-part internet. But it's also the most abused and evil. All right. Is it illegal to go to the dark web? No. Is it illegal to download the Tor browser? No. But with the rise of everything in the dark web, I will tell you, the government does sort of pay attention to who downloads the dark web. Now, you have to understand about this browser. It flies, and it's heavily encrypted. It essentially goes through, I call them revolutions, over 5,000 revolutions. And the reason why it does this is to keep your IP secret, to keep the websites you might decide to visit secret.
Right.
Okay. What you can find on the dark web, the least of the evils, and I'm just going to mention a couple. You want hot credit card numbers? You got it. You want a hacker to toast your ex-girlfriend's computer? You got it. Are you into bestiality? Oh, well,
Yeah.
You can check that out. All right, let's get to predators. Predators love the dark web. Why? Because they can easily share child porn, pictures, and videos. They love pictures, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to backtrack just for a minute. I issue this warning all the time. People don't listen. Look, people, I like to see pictures of happy little kids.
Right.
You know, your happy grandkid, the new baby, you know, don't we all? I mean, there's nothing like the sweet smile of a child. One that's happy, not abused.
Mm-hmm.
Lock those pictures down.
Yep.
And I'm not talking just the bathtub pictures. Please don't take bathtub pictures, okay?
Yeah.
You know, if you do, make sure they're all covered up in bubbles. Yes, that cute little butt is cute. Ain't nobody need to see that but
Seriously.
you. Because those pictures are taken, and they're bought and they're sold, even the innocent-looking pictures.
Uh-huh.
Believe it. If you just have to post those pictures on your Facebook, set the audience for people that you actually know, aunts, uncles, grandmas, best friend. But even those can be accessed by somebody that's good with computers. Right-click save, people. That's all it takes.
Yep.
Okay. Let's flash to the dark web. The dark web, you got your credit card. Say you're a predator, or just say you're curious. You don't want to be curious, okay? You do not want to see those pictures and videos. I'm telling you straight up, okay?
Well, not only
They-
that, April, but just having those in your cache can be illegal. And you can go to jail just for having those pictures or those torrents.
Yeah, right, you can. And I always get, and I'm not going to, I could get on my soapbox, but I'm not because we're limited on time. But I always rant and rave that people, predators, I shouldn't say people, get more for child pornography than they do actual child rape.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're not going to be looking at child pornography unless you're a predator, okay? Straight up.
Right.
All right. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to say this fast, but, you know, for those of you that might have a weak stomach, grit your teeth, or either step away just for a minute, but I'd prefer you listen. Children are bought and sold over the dark web.
Yep.
This is a fact.
Say that again.
They're bought and sold.
Not in this country, right?
Oh, yeah. In
Really?
this country, all over the world. And they are bought and sold for the sole purpose of adult sexual gratification. You have a credit card. Say you're a predator. Maybe you're really sick. And when I say sick, I mean sick like you have a bad cold. You can't get out for the evening, okay?
Uh-huh.
But you want to get your jollies off because you just love, and I'm being sarcastic, love those little kids. So you just wander over there to the dark web, and you whip out that credit card, and you come in contact with some of your other fellow freaks, and you say, you know, I'd really like to see a 3-year-old little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. Okay, I can do that. All right, well, here's my credit card. then they're going to ask you what you want done to them. And they will do it
Yep.
in real time on webcam so you can see it. They're going to rape. They're going to sodomize. They are oral copulation, whatever your heart desires.
Mutilate.
Mutilate. And if you're into snuff, they're going to kill them too, and that's
Yep.
a fact.
Yep.
And it happens every day, all day. Like I said before, these are sexual predators, child sexual, well, any, but I'm sticking with children,
Right.
are nothing to play with. These people, excuse my language, but they're flat fucking evil. And do not ever listen to that bullshit that they can be cured, because they can't. And it's been proven time and time again. The only way, because I've just read so much, the only way it's an evil. It just can't be fixed. And they don't back down, go away. I mean, hell, there was a guy here in Florida, 85 years old, arrested for the rape of a 4-year-old. All right, you're thinking 85, damn, he couldn't get it up. Really?
Yep.
He didn't have to get it up, okay, to be crude. I'm sure he did, but he didn't have to. They don't always have to use a body part. The penis, okay, for men.
Right.
Women do it too. And it's not going to go away. Now, as far as, let me kick back to the Tor browser. You have to manually download that, and it will show up on your computer.
Right.
And your phone. And that being said, let me say this really quick. There is all kinds of software out there that you can monitor your children on the computer, on the phone, on the iPad. I don't want to hear that you're invading their privacy. It is up to you to protect them. And there are plenty of predators that troll the net. This is true. There are some children, depending age, that maybe get themselves in a situation they don't realize. Or they've been told, hey, download this, ha-ha, You can give them a tiny bit of privacy by using certain keywords and this kind of thing.
Right.
But, and you're going to have to grit your teeth, because even if it's nothing bad, they might be bitching about mom or dad, or, I hate my sister, or something like that. You don't confront them over that, okay? Did I do this to my daughter? You damn right I did. Now, my daughter is now 27 years old, okay? But, she grew up in the 90s, in the early 2000s.
Yep.
I spoke last week briefly of what sort of led me to where I am today. I told her I was putting it on there. Honestly, she forgot, which was fine. But I could see everything she typed, everything she looked at,
right.
Every person that typed back at her, invade their privacy, okay?
Yeah.
Because in the end, you could save their life or save from horrendous abuse on them. Let them hate you. They're going to hate you anyway. You're the parent, okay? And when they grow up and become adults and can look back, I'd be willing to bet they're going to thank you.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
I had on my computer at home, it was AOL, and I had child thing that they couldn't go to anything that wasn't age appropriate.
Right. I mean, today the software is so much improved from what I had, even though it was called Spectre back then, and It was very well done, but today, especially since technology is with phones, especially in iPads,
Yep.
it's just taken off, and it's all price ranges. I mean, you do have to pay for it, okay, but it's going to be one of the best investments you've ever made in your life, I assure you.
Spectre,
Please
how James
don't ever
Bond.
think it can't happen to your child. Maybe it won't, but like I said at the beginning, educate yourself,
Yep.
educate them. I mean, and let me say this really quick, and then I've got to get to human trafficking. My daughter had a very good friend. This child was like my child. They spent so much time together. As a teenager, she started to get involved with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it. Her parents didn't know it. How did I know it? By that computer program. She came over one night, used the computer.
Mm-hmm.
I would wait till my daughter went to school. I would pull up the logs, look. Honestly, most of it was, typical early teen bullshit. Excuse me.
Right.
Thank God. Thank God, okay?
Right.
Her friend was talking to another friend that my daughter didn't know. Started talking about how she, had gone to the cinema and taken some pills and this kind of thing, and I was promptly horrified. Mm-hmm. I printed it all out so it could be read.
Right.
And I gave it to her mother. Her mother, I mentioned it, and she didn't believe me until I showed her hardcore proof.
Yep.
Needless to say, her and her husband got all over that, and I'm glad they did because, 10, 12 years later, that young woman did not go down that path of drugs.
Yep.
She is now an accomplished journalist and doing well in life. So,
before you go to sex trafficking, April,
yes,
your daughter's in her late 20s.
right,
And she knows you did this.
yes.
Does she hate you? Now, does she hate
Actually,
you?
no.
Yeah.
But like I said, no relationship's perfect. That's a different topic on a different day.
Right.
But my daughter and I had a good relationship, and I'm not going to say her name. She has a very unique name, and it would stick.
Yeah, you'll
So,
notice I didn't use her name. But
But this girl, she loved her friend. They're still very good friends today. Mm-hmm. She had forgotten the software was there. She did get a little, ranked. I forgot you were reading.
no, I'm talking
Yeah,
now. I'm talking
sure
the
you
relationship
did.
now.
But she was grateful.
Yeah.
Right.
She was grateful. And like I said, they might be 30 damn years old before they tell you thank you.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
All right? All right. Sex trafficking. I'm going to have to hit this hard and quick.
That's
It's
a
very
terrible
real.
segue for sex trafficking, April.
It's very real. Rough now. I'm going to go by statistics. What I mentioned last week is people like to hear statistics. Okay, I'll give you some. I do think they're probably lower, honestly, than actual numbers. All right? Mm-hmm. All right, sex trafficking in general affects women, men, children. Mm-hmm. Yes, men are trafficked too.
Yeah.
Some for sex. Mostly it's women and children. Mm-hmm. They estimate, being the government, okay, for what that's worth, 5 million people a year.
Yeah.
It's a $30 billion a year business.
But that doesn't happen in this country.
Actually, the United States and Asia are the two biggest consumers in sex trafficking.
Yep.
The three biggest states, it happens in every state, okay, is California, Texas, and here where I am in Florida.
Now, what do you say to people that say, it doesn't happen here? That happens in Europe, that happens in Asia, that happens in India, that doesn't happen here. What do you say to those people?
I would say you are wrong, you are misguided, and you're turning a blind eye.
Yep.
And again, as I talked about predators, and of course these are predators preying upon children. Children are bought and sold just like on the dark web.
Yep.
This is modern day slavery at its worst. Men are usually used as slaves. And you're thinking, what? You know, slaves went out with the Civil War. The hell it did.
No.
Okay? Men are often used, usually in third world countries, but here as well, for labor. Mm-hmm. The migrants you see working in the fields, some of them are migrants. Some of them are forced slave labor.
Yep.
Women and children are mostly trafficked for sex. 80% of the women that are trafficked are used for sex. 85 to 90% of the children are used for sex. Mm-hmm. If y'all were paying attention around the Super Bowl, they busted a sex trafficking ring. There are sex trafficking rings. They're huge, and they operate. Do you know how much they, depending on anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 a person is what they can make off each person.
Yep. Wow.
Depending on what's wanted, who it is, sex, age, this kind of thing. And just for a brief second, I'll kick to pedophile rings. Now, I know y'all have heard, you know, Hillary Clinton and Pizzagate and all that crap. Okay. Truthfully, about that, I don't know if that's true. I will tell you, there are pedophile rings. Again, children bought, sold, child pornography. It's a brotherhood. You know, okay, you got the police brotherhood. They stick together. Doctor, lawyer, child care workers.
Right.
You know, okay, you get the picture. Same thing, except they take it up quite a notch, protecting each other. Why? Well, because it's illegal and it's evil, and they protect each other, okay? And then, you know, as you pull into trafficking, no, I don't. I'm not trying to get political here.
Well, while you're gathering your thoughts, April, I just want to bring something up. You know, I'm sick and tired of seeing Wayne Dyer memes crossing my news feed. And the reason is, first of all, the man never had an original idea. And second of all, back at the height of his career, he was busted for soliciting in Florida. And I don't think he asked that girl if she was there willingly, because you and I both know that people in prostitution tend to have gotten there through sex trafficking of one kind or another. And so anyone that needs, I'll be more than happy to send you the newspaper report where he pleaded no contest.
And I mentioned this last week, and I know we're just about the end. People get outraged over this, and they should, honestly. But I tell you, and like I said, that would be a whole other show on another day. We could discuss the frailties of the human spirit, etc.
You're on.
Especially when it's related to politics. Now, I'm not picking one particular politician here. What I'm saying is, like I mentioned before, they get more for child porn than they do child rape.
Yep.
Okay? That's bullshit. Law, we need tougher laws. This has been said for years, but what happens? Not a damn thing. It needs to be made a priority. When you vote, when you... we have to talk about economics and et cetera and jobs, but there's so much more. And if we can't protect our kids, which honestly we do a suck-ass job to begin with, then what the hell good are we, okay? And this is my opinion because I know the evil that pedophilia does. I personally, it won't happen. I'd settle for heavy jail time, although I really don't want to pay to put this son of a bitch up for the rest of his life in jail, but it'd keep him, okay, from molesting, raping other children. And don't think they go to jail and get rehab, because they don't. Anyway, I want the death penalty. That's not going to happen. I'll settle for tougher laws because they can't be changed. They can't be stopped unless they're put away. So I have my own little saying, and it's going to make me sound really harsh, and I don't care. It's one cure, one bullet. And I mean that. Sex trafficking is huge, just like the pedophile networks. The only one thing I didn't mention, I'm going to throw this in here really quick, and it's the lesser of the evils. But did y'all know, how you go to the adult bookstore, and there are all those lovely little dolls for self-pleasure? There are child dolls for self-pleasure. And these days, with the advent of silicone, etc., they look incredibly real.
Yep.
People will tell you, oh, well, I guess if they get a doll and get it on, that's going to curb the urge. No, it does not. And it does not work. The only thing it does is perhaps buy a little bit of time for an unsuspecting child, because you know what? That doll doesn't breathe and cry and talk like a child. So do you think they're going to get tired of it and go find the real thing?
April?
Yes, indeed.
April?
Yes.
What's the bottom line on rape? What's rape about?
From I'm looking at, well, you can apply the same to any adult male, female that's raped, but I'm going to stick with children here at the moment, so that's what we're discussing. Rape, aside from the act itself, which of course is degrading, painful, if it's a very young child or a baby or young child, it can be physically disfiguring.
But I'm not talking about the act. I'm talking about psychologically.
Psychologically, it's a soul killer. And
but for the
a
rapist,
spirit
what does
killer.
the rapist get by raping?
It's a sense of power.
How much power does a freaking doll have?
It's power and it's gratification.
Right, but how much power does a doll have?
A doll doesn't have any power.
And that's why a doll doesn't solve it.
Exactly. But let me say, think about it. Like I said, the doll doesn't live, breathe, cry.
Right.
But a young child doesn't have power either, because if they did, well, I would say there would be a whole lot of hurting or dead child predators.
Yep.
Get my drift?
April, nobody has power. Life is fleeting. Power is an illusion. But the illusion of power for the rapist is never going to be quenched by a doll, because a doll
That's true.
has no power for the illusion of the rapist to feed off of.
So, to whoever's listened, thank you for listening. I do not claim to be an expert, but I am well educated. Okay, I would be remiss to call myself that. I'm very passionate about being a child advocate, educating people. Like I said, I understand it's hard to listen to. I understand.
Yes.
Nobody wants to think of this, but you have to, okay? I'll say this, and I know they've got to wrap up. Please, I've given you some information. Contact Glenda, contact myself. Hit Google. I'm telling you, use the internet for some damn good and not evil. It's a wealth of information. That's the only good thing, aside from meeting people. I'm talking decent people now.
Right.
The internet.
April, I just want to stop you there because there's a tremendous push to normalize pedophilia and to normalize these atrocious behaviors. So when you Google, understand your sources, because some of these people have infiltrated the American Psychological Association and very legitimate seeming groups to try and legitimize pedophilia and normalize it.
Thank you for bringing that up. I greatly appreciate that. I will say, just like child advocates, children have advocates, animal, elder abuse, okay? So do pedophiles. And you're thinking, what? What's wrong with these people? Well, that's another topic, too. All right, you're right.
Yeah.
And think about today how children are sexualized and at earlier and earlier ages. Think about, here's a good example. Think about what's that stupid show? I don't even know if it's still on. Toddlers in Tiaras or something.
Yeah.
These little girls are dressed up like grown women and paraded around. Then there's the little boy, I believe his name is Desmond. He's, I think, 10 years old. He dresses as a drag queen. And I've read just a little bit about him. He's come to my attention here lately. He's overtly sexualized, not just for gay people. Oh, that reminds me, I should throw this in here. The pedophiles are trying to get in on the LGBTQ movement. I'm here to tell you they're trying to tag in because they figured that people, A, aren't paying attention. Maybe they are to the pride movement, so to speak, but not the back door, so to speak. I'm here to tell you that, first of all, a person being gay does not make them a child predator, okay? Not to say there aren't gay child predators. There are.
Right.
But the majority is straight. But
April,
then pedophiles figure, look, we're much more accepting these days.
I just want to say, because this happened today on a group, someone posted an innocent, have a good time at the Pride Parade in New York City, because it was a New York group, and this ignorant jerk jumps in there and says, leave the children alone. And I asked him, I said, gee, how come you're deflecting so much attention away from yourself? And he stopped talking to me real fast. So, yes. Thank you,
I know
April.
how you are, Larry, so I have no doubt that he did. Now, when I laugh, I was laughing at Larry. I was not laughing at
the
his
subject
comment or the content.
But the bottom line is, thank you for stating that, people who have alternative lifestyles, who embrace those alternative lifestyles appropriately and responsibly, are not necessarily the problem.
Exactly. They're not.
Right.
It's the evil that lurks in the brain that is. There's been a huge push in the past 15 years. It's like chipping away at a rock, okay? And they're chipping. And don't ever think that one day pedophilia just might be normalized. And okay, I hear the collective, oh my God. Well, I am not using that as a scare tactic or anything or sensationalism. It's the truth, because there's already a push against the American Psychological Association. If you remember years ago, homosexuality was considered a disease. It is not anymore. And I will say you cannot compare homosexuality to a child predator. It's not the same in any way, shape, or form. But they are trying really hard to get them to call it a sexual orientation.
To the point where they want to give it a DSM code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, okay, it's an orientation, no, it's not. And it never will be. Well, I take that back. It never should be. But at this point, God only knows what's going to happen, say, in 20 years. Maybe it won't even take that long. It's gotten this far already. And people need to be aware of this. And even if it's a little tiny draw your line in the sand to a big draw your line in the sand, do it. We cannot let these people do this, because it's bad enough people turn a blind eye as it is today. Let that happen. Oh, Lord have mercy. Pandora's box is already open. Well,
Yeah.
Pandora herself's going to be flying out, all over the place, okay? I mean, it just boggles my mind, honestly, that, people can be so blind and accepting, I guess, is what I'm looking for. And it's, like I said, there is no cure. And we all, for the sake of your children, your grandchildren, whose ever children that you love, and not in the freak way.
They're all our children.
Yeah, that's right. They are all our children.
Goes back to the beginning. It takes a village.
And by God, the village needs to step the hell up.
Yep.
All right?
Well, thank you
That's what
for
I'm
being
saying.
part of the solution.
We all could be part of the solution. I mean, even, and you think, well, maybe you have a health condition that prevents you from getting out, perhaps, and maybe actively doing something like I do, being a guardian,
Right.
or a foster parent, or, volunteering to teach kids to read at school. Again, harness the power of the internet for good. You can do something. Even if all you can do is post articles and your opinion on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you choose to go.
Right.
But I do that on your wall, April, and your friends block me.
That's,
And sometimes they should. No.
I've been blocked myself plenty of times, so you're not alone.
Even utopia, there's myopia.
So the thing is with you, Larry, is you intimidate them, and not in a bad way.
Little mate.
They just can't keep up with that brain power, is all it is.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's bad enough, April. Don't make it worse than it is. No.
No, but you. The thing I've always liked about you, Larry, is you are intelligent and well-spoken. even on the internet, okay? And you have no issue saying what's right, what's wrong, and standing up for that belief in those that are marginalized. And
Well,
we can
April,
all
I just
learn
want you
from
to
that.
know that I may be the bear in the shooting gallery drawing fire, but I'm sitting next to the killer rabbit. And she makes sure she sees where that fire is coming from.
Well, I've been getting to know Glenda a little better. I mean, I've known you for quite a while now.
Yeah.
What, 8, 9 years?
Yep.
So that's,
But thank you for coming on, and we're going to
Yes.
have you back because we didn't cover it all again.
Well, I don't mean to go on and on.
No,
but
it's not you. It's not you.
It's a wealth
You're
of
great.
information.
It's the
And I'm
subject.
just trying to get it out there. And I thank you again for giving me the opportunity to come on your show and do so. And I hope that I've enlightened, educated, and I'll say it, even horrified some people.
Yeah, no.
Because sometimes that needs to be done.
Whatever
it really
it takes
does.
to wake them the fuck up, April.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
my email address all over the web has conduit in it. It may be our radio show, but we're just conduits for good people like you. Thank you so much for being part of the solution.
Well, I'd like to thank you and Glenda. I know that you cover a wide variety of subjects.
Ashley, too.
And like I said, educate yourself, whether it's about this, spirituality, maybe a lifestyle you don't understand, etc. And obviously, you all are tapping into that, and I think that that's wonderful. I really do.
Thank you. Now, we will have you again, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's always important to make people aware of really the reality of the world. Not to scare them, not to anything, but it's not all butterflies.
Hey, whatever it takes.
It's not all beautiful
No.
butterflies.
It's, honestly, I wish it was all butterflies.
Yeah.
But it's not. And,
Think of
maybe
the opportunity
all
that
of
we
us-
have to make it better, April.
Yeah.
Let's all
we can
embrace that
each
opportunity.
do our own part. Like my own little saying is I might not be able to do a lot, but in my little corner of the world, I'm damn sure trying. And if we all stand in our own little corners and make a difference, or at least try, hey, you never know.
Exactly.
And you never know exactly maybe whose life, adult or child, that you have affected. But do you really need to know? No.
Exactly.
No, you don't need to know. Just know that you're doing your best and trust that it'll find its home.
Exactly.
I'd like to say thank you, April, again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to all of our listeners. Ashley, you have a show on Thursday.
Yes, I have a show on Thursday. It's Geeked Out. We talk about anime and video games for 2 hours. We get silly. We talk about all kinds of silly things. Anime conventions, building cars. Sky's the limit.
Building cars. Yeah.
Oh, one of my hosts built a car based off the anime Initial D because he's a really big gearhead. So he did a complete ground-up recreation of the vehicle.
Cool.
And how'd he do with that?
Oh, that is cool.
It's perfect. Well, it keeps breaking down, but it's an 86 Trueno, so there's only so much you can do.
How did he do when he showed it?
What do you mean?
Didn't he show that somewhere?
He has it all over Instagram. He goes to conventions for that.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wasn't he recognized recently at a convention?
Yeah, he's gone to another convention. He went to a bigger one.
Yeah.
Otakon, I think is the name of it.
Cool.
I can't remember. He's been to so many.
Well, for you gearheads, go hit up Ashley's show.
Yes.
And you will be led to the pictures. And Glenda, what are we doing tomorrow? Well, not tomorrow, but tomorrow we're preparing for next week. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, well, tomorrow. Yeah, what are we doing tomorrow?
We have Reiki Clinic at 5:30.
What is that?
That is where we administer Reiki healing to a group of people.
Well, I don't administer Reiki healing.
No, only the Reiki Grandmaster and the Masters.
Okay, and how many generally show up to administer Reiki? to the
3
group?
of us.
3 of you?
Yes.
3?
3.
And
3.
and how much are people forced to pay for that?
They're not forced to pay anything.
They're not forced to pay.
It's by donation. We want everyone to be able to have the opportunity to get healing without having to worry whether they could buy food or not the next week.
And then?
And then we have mediumship development. at
What's that
7.
about?
That's to develop your mediumship skills. Silly.
But I'm an extra large.
Oh, no, you're not an extra large. Do you really want to go to your size there?
No.
Okay.
No.
That is so everyone can hone in their skills and develop them to be able to communicate to the other side.
And what's that like?
Communicating to the other side?
Yeah. It's like-
Communi-
so, but I mean, does pretty much everybody get a chance to do that there?
Yes, everybody gets a chance.
First time?
Yeah, first time.
And how much are they forced to pay for that?
It's all donation. I
Again
know.
with the donation.
Oh, God, dear Lord. Uh-huh.
And what about the next show, real quick?
The next show is going to be EFT. We're going to have a
that like E.T.?
Master emotional, and I always forget but EFT, and we're going to have a master coming in.
I think it's emotional freedom technique.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm
Well-
sorry, guys. The allergy pills are taking effect.
For everyone out there, you get to tap that.
Yeah, and
And not the way it sounded.
He's also going to speak about how he helps children and adults from trauma and abuse.
With the EFT.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
And that's just tapping.
I'll be tuning in.
Yes, then that's just tapping.
People say I should be tapped a little harder sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That was quick, Ashley.
I'm going to tap out.
Yeah.
Yes, that is next week, and we hope everybody has a great week and joins us. And, just gather your tea, your coffee, or your whatever you want to drink, And
I'll go
join us
wrangle
here
the dragon.
And join us here around 5:45. Sit and chat with us.
There you go.
Have a good one, everyone. Be blessed.
Thank you again, April.
Thank you.
Thank you.